So can you tell me what your normal day? I know this changes every week, but what's kind of a normal day in the life of Felipe's remote working session?
Okay, so when we're not quarantining, is that a verb? Like, how do I say? Or in quarantine?
Yeah, I would probably say in quarantine, but
Okay.
quarantining. Yeah, sure.
So basically, I try to go to bed early. I think it kind of started when I came back from Europe because I was jet lag, and that was great because I had to go to bed around 9 or around 10, and I would wake up at, I don't know, 5:36. But that doesn't last, obviously. So basically, I try to wake up at 7-ish, and then I check
Hmm.
if there isn't any email important stuff, because since I work with IT, I'm kind of used to that. Maybe an automation didn't work, or someone is like having a hard time accessing one of our courses. And then
So wake up, check if there are any fires you need to put out.
uh,
Is that first thing? Is
yeah,
that from your bed?
no, 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 because I've been trying to leave my phone out of reach, so I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have this. It's like, I don't even know how that's called, but it's an alarm, but it's analog. No, it's not a smart.
We would call that an alarm clock. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Back in the day, for the kids listening at home, people in the old times used to have alarm clocks that did not have phones attached to them.
yeah, and I got it as a gift, and I was like, okay, this is fun. I'll probably never use it, but it's become one of the best things I have. And okay, so I check emails, but like for 5 minutes because we're a small team. So, and then I have coffee for like 20 minutes maybe. Normally only
Yeah.
coffee, right? Because I don't know, I'm not hungry when I wake up. And then I come back to the
Me either.
computer, work for a little bit, and in the morning I try to do my creative work. I don't know if it's that. Okay, so this is tricky because I don't know if it works or if I've been reading too many books that tell me to do that, but it seems like it's been working because as the day goes by, I
I would say as the day goes on.
okay, as the day goes on, I have, like, in the afternoon, for example, I feel like doing more. I wouldn't say easy work, but things you could do while listening to a podcast, for example. You know,
Yeah.
and in the
Like
morning,
low
it's like,
energy
yeah,
tasks. Yeah.
and in the morning, I try to do more focused work.
Yeah. I am on the same page, just to interject really quick because I love this topic. Um, I also don't know if it's because I've read so many things suggesting this or if I actually have like a surplus of energy in the morning. But the idea of like deep work, creative work, I normally have like 3 to 4 hours of good work in the morning. So I think it's a real thing. If not, I don't care. It's working for me right now.
Yeah, and I was listening to this book. I forgot its name now. I think no, it was actually a podcast talking about the 8 hours workload, and like nobody can really explain why we stopped there. So it used to be more back in the days, I think in the 18th century, and now it's 8 hours. But like nobody can actually tell if we can produce 8 hours per day. So I agree with you, like 4 to 6 hours for me if I'm doing very like focused work or things that I really have to pay attention to. That's the maximum I can go.
Yeah. I think 4 hours of like heavy knowledge work,
Yeah.
like if I'm creating courses or teaching classes or I don't know, designing something new, I would probably say 4 to 5 hours before I just start feeling stupid and being stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't work like that every day for me. So I don't do that anymore, but I had tags for low energy and high energy on my tasks. So if it's a bad day because I don't know, because I had wine or because I don't know, I didn't sleep well, I would just do low energy tasks so that wouldn't stress me out, but I could do more, but low energy tasks. And that's how I try to manage this flexibility.
Yeah. So, Felipe, let me ask you, you are very productive. I know this as your boss, but I think most people will know just from listening to you, like you manage your task according to energy. Is this something you have learned, like to organize your life and your systems and your task? Or is it something that you've just cultivated through working in different organizations, or something you've really had to try hard with? Because most people, that's really hard to be productive and disciplined by yourself. How do you do it?
Well, I think it started in college. I wouldn't accept to fail because I didn't work. So that was the only thing I had to do in my life, and I had to do well. And it started there. I didn't have any methods. I would just study and try to not fail, basically. And then as I started working, since I went to a really good school, really good university, I realized that people they were not working as productive as they could. And I'm not saying that they should stay in the office 12 hours, but you're like, I don't even know how to say that, but instead of just doing something you have to do, they would just take the whole day too. So it would feel like they've been working the whole day. And I was an intern, so I just got obsessed with productivity, and I think it's called biohacking. Like what time should I eat, or what kind of food I should eat in order to just feel better in general, And yeah, I'm not obsessed anymore, but I think it started there, and I've been adapting as I go.
Yeah, I think we both had a phase of being obsessed with all things productivity and like optimal performance. And now we've kind of toned it back a little bit. Yeah. What things do you have nowadays that like productivity systems or things that help you feel good when you're working remotely? Like easy things that, let's say, if, I don't know, a mom that has 2 kids is working remotely for the first time, she doesn't really know how to do that. What are some of the tips that you could give people?
Okay, I think the first one, it's not something I would think of, but I was taking this course called Click Minded, and the first class was, first, just make sure you have a setup that you like. And so many people take it for granted, because, well, when you go to work, it feels like work, you have to go there and you have to work. But if you're at home and you're just using like a very slow computer, or you are in a room that you don't really like, you don't feel good, it's going to affect your work. So this is one of the things. You have to feel good about the place you're working. Either like you got a new monitor, or you have a keyboard or you like to type in. I know it sounds silly, but like in 2-3 days, maybe in a week working at home, you're going to feel the difference,
Yeah, for sure. I would add having maybe a comfortable seat.
Yeah.
That's important. And if possible, I love to have a little bit of natural light so you can see the outdoors every once in a while. Cool. What else?
I would try to track everything you're trying to work on. So basically, let's say you're doing, data analysis, and then you move to video editing, and then you move to answering calls. I would just try to track that, because since you're at home, what I realized that when you are at work, like in an office, it's hard to track because you're normally doing like 1,000 things at the same time. But when you're at home, I think it's easier to actually manage. Like, I'm just going to do 4 things today, like 4 categories, and then try to track that. And then you see, like, some days you feel like, what have I done? I think you told me that. It's like sometimes I'm learning, I'm not doing anything. I'm just learning a new skill. I'm trying to set up a new automation. It's like, what have I done? And then I look, oh, okay, so I spent 4 hours learning. And even though I didn't create a product, a final product, the next day I'll probably won't have to spend time doing the same thing.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts about that. But first, do you have a specific program or method that you use to track your time?
Yeah, I have this app. It's called Toggle. I think that's how you pronounce it. Toggle.
Yes, that's Toggle, Toggl.
Yep.
Correct. .com, which I saw is offering a 30-day free trial during quarantine. So we can include that in the show notes. You can do that, Felipe.
Yeah. But if you just type in time tracker, you get to see there are a lot of different tools and they do the same thing, basically.
Yeah. I would recommend setting up all of your like screen time monitors and screen trackers on your phone and your computer. I know iPhones do this automatically now, just so you can see what you are spending time on. That's a great way to start, just to benchmark your time. Another thing you said, Felipe, is like sometimes you don't know what you're doing. Like, oh, maybe now I'm just learning. I think that's one of the biggest challenges or realizations for remote workers is redefining your concept of work.
Yeah.
Because in the office, when you're at the office, you're working, even if you're not being productive. But when you're working from home, there's a lot more space. There's a lot more gray area. So I think just being flexible with what work is, what work means to you, how do you define it? That's an important thing to consider and think about.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Felipe, I think we could talk about remote work all day. Do you have any last words, recommendations, questions for me, questions for anyone that you want to ask about working remotely?
Actually, I've been thinking like when we're in the future, like 1 to 5 years from now, we're gonna look back and I'm really excited to see how remote work is being how do I say that? I'm really excited to see like in 5 years how we're gonna look at remote work.
Yeah. No, like in 5 years, is working remotely just the normal thing to do, or is it still like kind of a weird thing? Who knows? What do you think?
I think for the first time in history, we've been forced to work remotely, for the first time. And I
Yeah,
know a lot of
in mass.
yeah, and I know a lot of companies they don't like that. And so I'm just excited to see, other than all the bad things that have been happening, I'm trying to look, I'm reading a lot of futurology. I think that's how you say it.
Future,
Future.
futurology.
Okay, future.
Yeah.
That's a hard word.
All ologies are really hard.
Things about the future.
Exactly, precisely.
And it's just exciting to see like what they expect, even though we're dealing with something very serious. It's for me, it's just exciting to see that some people they're privileged enough to think and to project how we're going to be living in, I don't know, 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think you are a little bit more optimistic than me. I think this mandatory remote work experience is going to probably fail or at least be a bit more complicated than most people are imagining. But I still think we are trending in the right direction, and the remote workers will conquer the world eventually.
Yeah, and I don't really know a lot about economy other than the basics. So I feel like I should be more worried than I am right now. So trying to see the silver lining. I don't know how to say that. The bright side.
Silver linings.
Silver lining.
Silver linings. Yes, I was going to mention that word. So silver linings is an expression that we use that essentially means just to see the good parts or the optimistic aspects of a bad situation. So in this case, there's a global pandemic. Everyone is terrified, and we are all quarantined in our houses. But the silver lining is everyone gets to work from home. Not everyone, but people fortunate enough to work from home get to experiment with this remote work thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
Cool. So Felipe, I think that's a good place to end it for today. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank
And I
you.
hope we do it again soon sometime.
All right, cool.
All right. Talk to you soon.